Real Talk Sports with Rico. Today, I will be your host. Today, we're just talking about free agency reactions and day two. I think that day two was just as good as day one, guys. So, quickly, I'm going to kind of go through some of the things that actually happened in day two, which I thought were just, we had to talk about it. So, first, let me start off with Drew Lock signing with the New York Giants. And I think that there was a lot of animosity for Saquon Barkley getting out of New York. And this is exactly why he got out of New York. The fact that they went out there and they got Drew Lock, it's because they don't believe in Daniel Jones. And at the end of the day, Daniel Jones is not a franchise quarterback. I said that last season. I said that in the offseason. He's not the guy. And it's unfortunate that he went down to a non-contact injury, but I think that the Giants very much are in a place of rebuild at this point in time. And it's kind of sad because the Giants actually not last year, but the year before were in the playoffs. So that just lets you know how the NFL changes from week to week and year to year. Nothing is guaranteed, but I thought that that was very, very telling right there. So that's number one. Number two, have to go with Derrick Henry heading over to the Ravens. I think a lot of people knew that this was going to happen. It looks like 9 million of the $20 million deal is guaranteed. A lot of tread on the tires league in carries last season. And the bottom line is that, look, the Ravens were number one in the league with running the football. They had the number one rushing quarterback in the league, and now they have presumably probably maybe the number one rusher in the league, even though, he hasn't hit 30 yet. But again, a lot of mileage on the tires, and he also runs with authority as well. So he takes a lot of hits too. So the problem that I like or I don't like about this is that Derrick Henry is terrific, and I think he's going to be an answer, no doubt, for J.K. Dobbins, because I don't think that J.K. Dobbins is going to come back the way he used to. You had to get a back over there now that Gus Edwards is not going to be there. They lost Keaton Mitchell to a knee injury. He's probably not going to be ready to go. So it's probably just going to be Derrick Henry's backfield here. And I just don't like the fact that they don't have a vertical player. Like, they didn't go out and get a wide receiver. And I think that that's kind of been the issue with the Ravens, is not just running the football, but if you looked at that Kansas City game, they couldn't go down the field. And there was only one person that could be dynamic and make plays for them, and that was Zay Flowers. And once Zay Flowers was taken away, and he also had those penalties that took him out of the game, that was tough for them. They took away Isaiah Likely, and Mark Andrews was not effective as well. So at some point, the Ravens have got to get away from just throwing to the tight end. They've got to find a receiver to stretch the field. So that's my big deal. I do like the fact he's going to help the play action and all that great stuff, but they got to find a way to go out here, and they've got to actually get a player that can stretch the field. Another reported signing that actually is making some noise is Marcus Mariota, and he's actually heading over to the Commanders here. So really a lot of people are thinking that this kind of shows that the Commanders are essentially they're getting a quarterback that's probably going to bridge for a quarterback that they're going to draft. It looks clearly like, hey, Sam Howell is not going to be there at this point in time. I don't know if you can necessarily say that. I mean, it's interesting. It certainly is interesting with Marcus Mariota. Could I see him being a starter for Washington right now? It is a possibility. And with Sam Howell moving on, it depends on what Washington wants to do. Are they going to trade him? Certainly, I don't think they're going to cut him. So, it was reported that they were looking at Jaden Daniels at number 2, but I just couldn't imagine Sam Howell and then Marcus Mariota being on the roster as well. Like, I think at some point something has to give. I know you want to have at least 3 quarterbacks, but I would think that Sam Howell would want to go elsewhere to play. Jameis Winston over to the Browns. This could be big because, look, Deshaun Watson has been injured since he's gone over to Cleveland. He hasn't lived up to that contract. It might be one of the worst contracts out there. I know a lot of people are talking about the Russell Wilson deal, but this honestly might be the worst deal. Okay, because he may not never ever reach that level that he was at when he was with the Texans. And Jameis Winston has been looked over a couple times. I think that Jameis Winston should have been the starter for the Saints. I still think he should be the starters for the Saints. I think he's better than Derek Carr at this point. And I hope that Jameis Winston gets a chance here with Cleveland. I think he's going to have a great running game. They've gone out there, they've gotten Jerry Jeudy. Hopefully that kind of unlocks them there. So, and then they're going to get back Nick Chubb. Are they going to get back Kareem Hunt? Maybe. I mean, probably they're going to get him on a low 1-year rental. So, he's going to have, I think, he's going to have a good backfield and supporting cast. You got Tyrod Taylor going over to the Jets. A little bit of insurance here. I think that this pretty much is saying that this is going to be the end for Zach Wilson. I think he's certainly not going to be the starter there. Not sure if he's going to be on the roster, but Tyrod Taylor can win some games. If Aaron Rodgers is not ready to go, I think that this is a terrific signing. I think that Tyrod Taylor actually should have been the starter for the Giants. I think that they should have just went ahead and gave him money there. But, I think it's a good signing that he moves on with the Jets. Sam Darnold over to the Vikings. The Vikings had to get a quarterback. Okay. I know that Sam Darnold is a former number one out of USC, hasn't really performed to that level. And I don't see him performing to that level with the Vikings, even though he is going to be throwing to one of the best receivers in the game at this point with Justin Jefferson. And I just feel like Justin Jefferson, I know he has Aaron Jones over there, 1-year rental, but I'm just not sold on Sam Darnold. I'm not sold on Sam Darnold. And then also, too, I feel like the defense for the Vikings has gotten worse in a division in which you're going to have to score points because the Bears have gotten better. The Lions have gotten better. And quietly, the Packers are actually right back where they were before. So, I think this is going to be tough for them. So I'm not really sold on that deal, but hey, you had to do something. Perhaps they're able to move up in the draft or something like that. How about Daryl Mooney Mooney, excuse me. I'm sorry, butchered his name. Mooney over to the Falcons. I don't really think that this is like going to work out for the Falcons. I think that they needed to go out there and they need to get somebody else. Is it possible that perhaps Calvin Ridley could come back there? They need a caliber wide receiver like that. I'm not sure that that Darnell Mooney is going to do it for you. Like, he's been inconsistent. You're hoping that he can get back to the 1,000-yard season. I think even with an elite quarterback like Kirk Cousins, if he's able to get back to where he was, that's not going to be enough for him. Shaq Barrett is going to be going over to the Dolphins. I think that this was huge for the Dolphins. They needed to get somebody over there. They've lost a ton of defensive help over there. Wilkinson's gone. They lost some help on the back end, on the defensive back standpoint as well. And I just think that they needed something, and so the Dolphins, look, as good of a season as they had, if they can't stop anybody, which was the issue last year, they couldn't stop the Chiefs when they really needed to get stops, then it doesn't matter who they have at offense. It doesn't matter the fact that they have Tyreek Hill and company. They're going to need a lot of help here. Chiefs signing Irv Smith Jr., you're hoping that he could return back to an elite tight end that he was when he was with Minnesota. Certainly, I think that could be an added wide receiver that can go along with Travis Kelce and kind of open it up for them, even though I think that Calvin Ridley is a guy that certainly they should be looking at. And also, too, I will say this as well. Another signing for you is going to be the Patrick Queen signing. Like, I think that Patrick Queen going over to Pittsburgh, I think, was huge, right? Like, that is huge. And I think that Calvin Ridley would be an excellent fit here with Russell Wilson. I think quietly the Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion, are looking to be a strong team in the AFC. And how about Joe Mixon being traded over to the Texans? the Texans have upgraded at the running back position, in my opinion, with Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is an excellent receiver out of the backfield. He can go in there and pound out some tough yards as well. You're getting a guy that has been in the Super Bowl paired with CJ Stroud. You're pairing him with Tank Dell and those elite wide receivers. Like quietly, this team is becoming good. And all by this, by the way, they also went out and got Danielle Hunter over from Minnesota, a guy who I was wondering where he was going to go. He only had 16.5 sacks last season for Minnesota, showed that he still has it. You pair that with Will Anderson Jr., and Coach D'Amico Ryans has a squad over here with the Texans. So I love what they are doing, guys. And I was talking to Devontae the Real Hogan here earlier today, and we both agree. I love what he had to say when he goes, it seems like this is a free agent period where it is you go to your rivals, right? You're going to your rivals, and it seems like people are wanting to stick it to their rivals, or stick it to their other team rivals, whatever you want to call it. And also, too, I think that you're seeing that players went for the bag really in free agency. I think a lot of these running backs that should have got the bag last year went out here, secured deals, and they went places where they're actually wanted. And that was huge. And that's what free agency is all about, is getting to places and getting to teams where you're actually wanted, your skill set fits. I think that Patrick Queen is probably one of the bigger splashes here in day two. I love that deal. And I like the Joe Mixon. I love everything that the Texans have done thus far. Like, they've looked really good. Atlanta still needs to add, I think, another piece from the wide receiver standpoint for me to feel okay with what they're doing over there and presenting. The Commanders, the Commanders is going to be a mess either way, but it looks like they got a bridge quarterback in Marcus Mariota. I think that that's what that's all about. So, with that being said, guys, that is a brief podcast where I wanted to talk about free agency and my reactions here today, too. Make sure that you press like and subscribe. You can follow the show here on YouTube under Real Talk Sports with Rico. You can also follow us on Spotify as well. That's on the show notes. Want to thank the fans out there who have chimed in on a week-to-week basis to help drive content and watch the show and subscribe. It definitely appreciate that so much, guys. Want to thank the sponsors out there for putting sponsorship on the show as well. And obviously for myself, this is Rico, Real Talk Sports, guys. I'll be back with some more shows, guys, like this. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.